What is up, guys? I hope you're well. My name is Mark and welcome to r/Entitled People. If you enjoy the content, please consider hitting that like button, maybe subscribing to us, and don't forget to change the notifications to always, as YouTube won't always notify you otherwise. A massive thank you to the supporters of our channel, hugely appreciated, and if you want your name on the supporters list, click that join button today. And with that being said, let's get straight into today's stories. Much love, guys. Our next story is from Vatican Cameos 714. Entitled Mum says my 7-year-old isn't allowed to mourn her grandfather anymore. Ruins 7th birthday. My dad died on the Winter Solace 2016. We're pagan and celebrate Yule instead of Christmas. It was a very sudden heart attack in his sleep, though I'm not convinced he didn't purposely overdose and cause it himself. My oldest was 6 at the time, and my dad was her best friend. It all hit us very hard, and I was struggling to help my daughter through her first real loss while mourning myself. My mum decided to self-medicate with crack and whiskey. Ironically, my father used to overdose. She kept making promises to my daughter about spending time together. Being 6, she was suddenly terrified that she would lose my mum too, and then bailing last minute. Always to go to a party or hang out at a bar. She said this was her grieving. I said it was her spiralling, but she refused to seek help. Mental stability was not a priority in that household, ever. Here's where the entitlement comes into play. Less than 2 months after his death, my mum starts dating a new man. By February, she told my 6-year-old that grandma had a new man friend. She didn't tell me. I got to hear it through my 6-year-old's tears. She felt like grandma was replacing Pop Pop. Even if that isn't the case, the relationship was new and the kid was still grieving. She didn't need to know about grandma's new relationship yet, but my mum disagreed. She said she has the right to tell her granddaughter whatever she wanted. We got into a heated argument after argument about boundaries and my daughter's right to mourn. My mother said, "You need to support me on this." I informed her, like she did when I came out of the closet, that no, I don't have to support you, but I do have to accept you. She accused me of demanding she break up with her boyfriend because a child threw a tantrum. I told her she was welcome to live her life, but she didn't need to involve my daughter in every aspect of it. A few months went by of my mother constantly trying to force a new boyfriend into my daughter's life. She would ask to take my daughter somewhere to spend time together. I would ask her if her boyfriend would be joining them. I had to turn her down several times after asking my daughter if she was comfortable enough to get to know him. She was not. Each time my mother would scream at me about ruining her life and impending on her grief. She was in mourning. How could I treat her this way? My daughter's 7th birthday rolls around and we get ready for a family party held in our backyard. I specifically told my mum that she was invited, but her boyfriend was not. This was a 7-year-old's party. Birthday girl made the guest list, and it's no place for drama. Well, guess what she does? Not only does my mother bring a new boyfriend, oh no, turns out the poor guy just had a stroke or something and needed assistance walking. He temporarily needed a walker, and the party was through the grass to the backyard. My mother left her date to fend for himself at the side of the road and strode into the party area with a look of absolute triumph that didn't make sense at first. Then, I saw him come round the corner, a man I didn't recognise and could only be one person. On either side of him were my in-laws, holding his arms up to help him along the grass. They didn't know him either, but they saw him struggling in the front yard and decided to help him to make it to the backyard. The moment my daughter saw him, she started to sob. Seeing just my mum without my dad was hard on her enough at that moment. Seeing another man in the place where Pop Pop is supposed to be broke her. She ran inside to her room, and before I could get someone to cover the grill for me, my mum chased after her. I found them in her room, my daughter trying to pull away from my mum, and my mum hugging her tight and muttering in her ear. Something inside me just snapped. I knew that position well. She'd been told she's a selfish child for having emotions. I jerked my mum away from my child and pulled her into another room where the yelling began. My mum said, "She needs to learn to get over this." I said, "She's 7, mother. This is hard for her." My mum said, "You're being so mean to me. I just lost my husband." And she just lost her grandfather. We're all hurting, mum. I told you he wasn't welcome. She wasn't ready to see him. My mum replies, "Well, he's already here, so there's nothing she can do but get over it." I said, "You need to leave. You can't kick me out. This is my house. Now leave." She didn't go quietly. Everyone at the party knew she was thrown out by my own daughter. I'm just here to celebrate with my grandchild. When she was finally gone, I hugged my still sobbing 7-year-old and asked her what Grandma said exactly. 7-year-old said, "She said I can't be sad anymore because he was just my grandpa, but he was her husband, so I can't be sadder than grandma. My stomach churned and I was suddenly very sorry I didn't pop my mother across the face before she left. Edit, we did go no contact for nearly a year, and despite my mother throwing tantrums herself, we waited until my daughter felt ready to let grandma back in. She was able to mourn and heal in peace. Thank you to everyone who expressed concern. Edit 2. Yep, she was high and drunk a lot of the time. This didn't faze me much because my parents have always used drugs and had an impressively high tolerance. I grew up thinking this was normal. I absolutely understand now it is not, of course. The new guy is deeply religious. He has the occasional beer and smokes a little bud, but he got my mum off the crack and other hard stuff. Oh man, what a story, what a roller coaster. I think the OP had every right to kick her out though. I mean, she was ruining her daughter's birthday. The grandma totally ignored what she was told and was just being a shit person. It's so sad as well, because there's obviously some love in there, but she just doesn't know how to express it. Yeah. What do you guys make of that story? It's so incredibly sad. And it's time for today's comment of the day. And I'm not picking this comment because it talks about me, but it did make me feel good. But the message in general is just very wholesome and I love it. The post was from Fred Gomez. Sometimes caring is better than loving. Sometimes tea is better than coffee. Sometimes smile is better than laughter. Nobody is better than you. And then he goes to say, finding time to make videos for us. Love you, man. Keep being an amazing person. Please stay safe. I'm worried for all of us, since there's people out there that don't bother to care for others' safety. But I just love that message. It's so wholesome, and it's true that occasionally tea is better than coffee, but nobody is better than you. Our next story is from Fred's Red. My son wants to go in your electronic wheelchair. Get out so he can have a go. I've been browsing this sub for a while and never thought I would post here. Oh, how I was wrong. Backstory, I'm a 29-year-old female and I've been confined to a wheelchair since I was 17. I'm a quadriplegic and can use a manual wheelchair at home but use a power wheelchair in public for practical reasons. I have mostly full use of my upper body and partial use of my lower body. I've been mistaken for a paraplegic a few times. This happened about a month ago before the crap hit the fan with COVID-19 in my town. I was downtown shopping for supplies for my inevitable self-isolation when I heard a deafening squeal of a child, about 12. EK said, "Ooh, that's a cool scooter. How fast does it go?" I said, "Thanks, little man. Yeah, it goes pretty fast." He said, "Can I have a go?" Me, thinking he meant sit on my lap and I'd drive him around, which in any other scenario I would have been happy to. COVID-19 and all. Sorry dude, but not today. The kid says, "Oh, okay," and stomps away and thought that was the end of it, but you know, I wouldn't be here if it was. A few minutes later, I hear the ground start to tremble as the Megatron Karen approaches. Oh boy, I thought, this is going to be fun. Karen says, "Excuse me, what did you say to my son?" Me, confused. He wanted to ride in my wheelchair. I said no. "What did you just say to me? You need to respect your elders and not talk down to my poor little angel. You don't even need that wheelchair. I know your legs work. You're just faking it for attention. Now let my son have a ride." She wouldn't have been much older than 35, so obviously not my elder. But even if my nan spoke to me like that, I wouldn't reply kindly. Me, all of my patience is officially gone. My wheelchair costs more than your car, and you want me to miraculously heal out of my chair so your dirty crotch goblin can take a joyride? Okay, the crotch goblin was smirking at me the entire time. Here's where the story gets graphic. I have hypermobility, which means my joints are extremely flexible and dislocation is easy and relatively painless. I also have titanium screws in my neck that creak loudly when I move a certain way. Bring on the Frankenstein. I leaned forward, pushed down with my right arm, dislocated my shoulder blade with a loud pop as I twisted my neck to make it creak. Then I pushed down with my left hand to contort my arm and hand in an unnatural position. This all happened in a few seconds, but it was enough to make Karen, red-faced and horrified, scream out, "Stop! It's okay! EK, let's go!" and they hurried out of the store. I could hear laughter coming from behind me as a friend who works there walks up to me and said, "That was mean." He knew me well and had seen me pull that trick before. Needless to say, I never had an issue like that again. It's a small town and news travels fast. Don't mess with a girl in the wheelchair. Edit, for those insisting I must be a troll because I don't know the difference between quadriplegic and paraplegic, look up incomplete quadriplegic. And one of my stories when I worked at Target, I was 16 at the time of that story. My injury happened when I was 17. I never understand it, what it is with Karens and thinking that disabilities are not a thing. I mean, but then again, they're mainly anti-vaxxers as well, so there's just no hope for us, really, is there? Our next story is from Skuxley. EM tells me to turn off my gaming PC because it's making her son jealous. Long story short, I moved into a new place recently with 2 stories, and it's very nice and modern. The day me and my family got to the new house, we moved all our furniture in and my gaming PC, then met the neighbours. This is when we met EM. She also mentioned she had an 8-year-old son, EK. Our house didn't have blinds and we never had the chance to install them. My bedroom just happens to face EK's room next door, which has no blinds. I set my gaming PC up on my desk, which faced towards EK's window. The second day of living in the house, EM knocks on our front door. EM to my mum, "Can I speak to OP?" When I get to the door, EM is there and gives me a dirty look. EM said, "Can you turn your computer off? It's making my son jealous. Also is watching you play your games on your computer at 11 PM last night." I said, "Really? Sorry. We have ordered blinds online to install, but it's going to take time." EM then says, "But it's making him jealous in the day. Knock it off." I said, "Why are you being so rude? It's my room and my computer." "Don't you play the victim. You're disturbing my family." I said, "I barely make any noise and I have headphones. It's your son who's watching me from his window and yelling last night." EM said, "I'll have to call the police. I'll have the police know about your trespassing light into our property." I said, "Go ahead." I slammed the door and she didn't come back. Trespassing light. Wow. Imagine that police phone call. "The light from my neighbour's window is trespassing onto my property. Please arrest them right now." Our next story is from Atomic Addict. Roommate forces me to move in the middle of a global pandemic with a newborn baby. It's my birthday. Roommate gets fucked by karma. Hello fellow Earth aliens, plague recipients, degenerates, unemployed, sociopaths, saints, and average Janes and Joes, and otherwise sentient life forms. Normally, I'd never share anything this personal on social media. It's just not my thing. My thing is gardening and dogs and creeping Reddit and shitty cell phone games. But sometimes we all reach our breaking point. We all just say, enough. Today is my 31st birthday during a global pandemic, on the 3rd of 31st. I wouldn't say that's notable, momentous, even eventful some would say. But that's not why I'm writing to you all. Coronavirus can kiss my ass, hell is other people. All of this started partially by my own doing a year ago. I agreed to a room share with my, knowingly, narcissistic friend of 17 years. He was moving back to the States after living in China for 3 years. He seemed more well adjusted. He had met the partner of his dreams. I loved this person. I thought to myself, everything will be fine, OP. You know how to put up with his bullshit. You'll save money. It'd be great. Obviously, the other doormat humans of the world knew that this was a serious and egregious oversight on my part. Cartoonishly foolish, definitely 100% will end with OP getting treated like dirt. All of you can skip to the end. Things were okay at first. He slept on my couch for 2 weeks without paying rent before my lease was up. Smoked all my weed, you know, the normal shit. Him, my brother whom I'm roommates with for the better part of 5 years, and myself signed a lease on the outskirts of a trendy neighbourhood. It's the kind of neighbourhood that has a hipster coffee shop right next to a restaurant that's only open 3 days a week, right next to a condemned crack house, and you're pretty sure it's just a drug front, but whatever. You're only 10 minutes from downtown and no one's broken into your house yet. Life is great, we all make decent money, even if we hated our jobs. 3 months in, the saga begins. Roommate smokes an insane amount of weed and pops Adderall to focus all the time. Laziest tweaker I've ever fucking seen. Roommate accuses brother and I of stealing money from him because he spent $1,500 in 1 month on weed for personal use and smokes the occasional bowl with us. Roommate has a job, working at a highly specialised summer camp at a well-recognised university. Roommate works from home 9 months out of the year and supervises teenagers for 3 months during the summer. All while getting paid $45k a year with those cushy government benefits. I really wish I could get paid that to smoke weed and play computer games. Life would be really great. Roommate's fiance gets arrested for drugs in totalitarian country. I asked roommate to treat me like a human because it freaks me out that he never speaks to me and never leaves his room. I'd also appreciate if he'd clean up after himself. Also, roommate says I'm insensitive for asking him to be cordial occasionally because I'm experiencing depression also, and would like for him to at the very least ask me how my fucking day was every once in a while. We were good friends for some time after all. He's just under so much stress right now due to fiance troubles and job that he can't be bothered to acknowledge my existence. He also can't be bothered to acknowledge the existence of his dishes, trash day, an ashtray, or his actual job. Summer comes, I quit my job because I hate it and it's slowly eating my soul. I do not have another job, but I'm done. I take a job supervising children at the summer camp for 1 month. Things continue to deteriorate. Roommate's fiance flees to totalitarian country to avoid mandatory community service in home state and comes to live in our house rent-free indefinitely. Roommate's fiance is a lovely person. Brother and I get along very well with him. Roommate elopes. They get a puppy, violating lease term, as the only dog allowed on property is brother's dog. All is well. I get 2 jobs, which I love. I'm happy and busy and social and don't need that asshole. I pretty much write the friendship off at this point and just want to get through the lease without any volcanic explosions. Brother's FWB gets pregnant and decides to keep it. She moves in with us too. I'm okay with this because she's a good human and also needs a safe place to incubate a tiny person. I now live in a 3-bedroom house with 4 other humans and 2 dogs and continue to pay a third of the rent and bills. Brother's partner and I do nearly all of the cleaning despite the fact that roommate and husband are always home and cooking and we all go to work. Fall and winter come and go, I try to keep peace. Doormats and pushovers enter here. Spring arrives and Australia is on fire. Kobe Bryant dies in a helicopter crash, China has some nasty shit going on, and I shamefully watch Love is Blind on Netflix. Everything is fine. After weeks of disgust and dodging by roommate, we all politely tell roommate that we do not wish to cohabitate with him and new husband after the end of the lease term. New baby is due in March and I've accepted that I'd rather live with a newborn than some psycho off Craigslist. Trust me, just don't do it. I've been there. Roommate states that he and new husband can't move right now due to the bullshit extenuated circumstances like how fake real job is too stressful during the summertime. He would rather illegally sublet from us indefinitely once the lease is up and then they'd be totally fine with 5 people and a baby and 2 dogs. They'll probably be out by the end of the summer. We don't want to argue with new roommate despite new baby being due in March and lease being up in April, so we agree to find a new place. Roommate and new husband can find another roommate. We give required notice of said intentions to our landlord. Roommate informs landlord that he will be staying. We find a nice place for $400 a month less than our current place in late February and sign the lease in early March to move in April. Everything is great. Things begin to go further downhill. Roommate is all over the place. Nice one day, arsehole the next. Baby is late. We decide to move in early to new place so mum and dad can have some peace with new baby and we can leave this toxic environment. We pay prorated rent for March for new house in addition to March rent for old house. Roommate begins to lose his ever-loving shit. Trump announces disaster declaration. Baby girl comes 3rd of 16 via C-section. We all move our shit in the middle of a global fucking pandemic with a newborn fucking baby 1 week after her birth. Roommate accuses brother and I of endangering his life for collecting our belongings out of our own fucking house. Roommate says terrible things to me. Roommate apologizes for terrible things. We get a puppy. Roommate states that they will not be continuing the lease in said house after we've moved with a newborn baby in the global of a fucking pandemic because they can't afford it anymore, when all we wanted was to there originally. Roommate states they will withhold deposit as last month's rent from landlord and pay us our deposit himself. I suspect they never intended to pay us any money at all. Puppy eats sock. Roommate says we can go fuck ourselves, but I'm also a saint for being so patient with him while he spews toxic nuclear waste all over me for the past 2 weeks. All we want to do is get the last of our shit and clean the fucking house so we can get our effing deposit back. Roommate bars us entry to the house and claims that he's spoken to a lawyer and he will call the cops if we come back because we are endangering his life and we have no legal right to enter. Roommate says we're broke, have no money and he will make sure we don't get our deposit back. We're a piece of shit human beings, etc. Brother and I decide to call landlord and explain the situation in detail, calmly and truthfully. Landlord sides with us and states that we did give a notice that we will be leaving at the end of the lease term and we're entitled to walk through and whatever portion of our deposit is applicable, and she is happy to escort us to the property with police escort in tow. Landlord states that roommate has not contacted her since he asked for the reduction in rent and requested to re-sign the lease without a deposit. Landlord says she ain't trying to play no games and she has a son in the last year of college. She states that we were actually the only ones who paid rent and deposit. All payments transferred directly through brother's account and she will be depositing all of the deposit directly back to us and y'all can work it out amongst yourselves. We tell landlord that we are sorry roommate is trying to fuck her over. Landlord is sad that we couldn't stay but she understands. Brother and I are happy and relieved to be done with this psycho. Roommate proceeds to call landlord and realises how much he has effed himself. Proceeds to try and apologise to us. Very sorry that he's now responsible for $4,000 worth of rent due to not giving proper 60-day notice to vacate property and may lose another $500 in deposit money. Just wants to talk, except neither me nor brother will answer any calls or texts. We're done. Puppy finally threw up the sock. Karma is an effing bitch. I literally could not make this crap up if I tried. The world is a literal dystopian nightmare fever dream and everything is fine. It's my birthday. Let's party like it's 2012 and Obama just won the re-election. Only safely and 6 feet apart with very clean hands, and don't forget to not touch your fucking face. I love the stories in the middle where there's like a random update, like with the whole puppy in the sock thing in the middle. You're like, oh, the puppy's okay. What a great story. But what a crazy roommate. Has anyone else ever had a crazy roommate like that? Especially when money's involved. It usually gets insane when you're trying to leave with deposits and stuff. Our next story is from May I Butt In. Drunk lady hits us with car and sues. We win. English is not my first language. Sorry for grammar mistakes, etc. This happened some time ago, about 4 or 5 years. My mum was once hit by a car next to my house while we were waiting for my cousin to finish talking with her followers. She's a pretty big influencer, about 40k followers, in her Instagram direct. As we started pulling out, there was no one in the street, but halfway out comes this speeding car at 130 kilometers an hour. Kid you not, it's a 60 kilometer an hour area. And when they see my car pulling out, they hit the brake. It did stop a bit, yes, but it still collided with us and left a dent in our car. My mother had backed when he saw the speed and shit, but couldn't help getting hit. A woman in her 40s, after collision, comes out and starts berating my mother through a window. I still remember the alcohol smell as I was in the car, and she smelled truly like a bottle of Jägermeister herself. She started spurting out racist comments as my mother is from another place with a thick accent, though she's from the same country, while calling the police. Lo and behold, the police come rolling and this massive idiot starts complaining to the police in a condescending tone towards us, and every time my mother wanted to explain her situation, she just started incoherently screaming so she couldn't be heard. It looked like a circus, and while my mother was talking to the police officer, who looked like if he was about to hit someone, I went up to talk to my cousin. I asked her if she'd see what happened, and she said yes, and she had seen it in her background while she was on the direct, and she was commenting it right now. She had it on the direct, and I told her to save it just in case. Boy, did I hit it right. When the police officer finished with my mother, he just said to pay the drunken lad's insurance. My mother was furious. She was the one speeding. The cop said that he hadn't seen what had happened, and this looked like if she paid out without watching for anyone. My mother started getting real upset and angry and started demanding to file an internal complaint, but he just walked away into his car and just went off. I approached my mum just as the drunken lady was spitting on her out of spite, saying that it was an expensive car and that she didn't know who she was. Of course, she sued. Now, I wasn't in the court on that day as I was in school, but my mum told me what had happened, so here it goes. My mother took a duty lawyer and went straight to court. She presented the direct my cousin had done that clearly showed the speeding and the collision. The jerk had tried to sue for damages, no insurance policy. BS, she didn't even ask for it. We do have it, and emotional damage. She sued her for speeding, unruly use of law, damages for the car, racism, and emotional damage. We didn't once say she was drunk, as it wasn't clearly visible, and they'd just shrug it off. We got to defend ourselves. Her lawyer did as well. Almost got us. She said she had been speeding and that she didn't hit the brakes soon enough, but then she opened her mouth. Drunken lady said, "What the fuck do you expect me to do, huh? You can't ask a drunk person to do more than that. Jesus, you're just being jerks because you don't have insurance, right?" She lumped back in her seat with a smug face. Her lawyer looked at her mortified, and the judge looked at her with wide eyes. My mother just smiled without believing it. The judge said, "So, let me put this straight, you were drunk?" Drunken lady said, "Yes, I just got out from my husband's company meeting." The judge said, "Do you know what? I think I don't need to hear anything else." My mother won the lawsuit. This lady's a footballer's wife, and they'd been to a party with all their team. She was pissed drunk and went home in one of their cars and hit my mother's car. We won chunk money, and she was sent on probation and some jail time because the drunken part just added public disturbance, public peril, and negligence. Here you go, some friggin' karma. This bee had it coming. Oh, man, how thick as shit do you have to be to go into a court and say, "Yes, I was drunk." Oh my god. I do like that story though, that They're smug the whole time. It's kind of a shame though that the cop acted that way. That's probably the worst part of the story, is that the cop just walked off, even that person probably smelled of alcohol at the same time. Wow. Anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed today's stories. If you did, you know what to do. It would be amazing if you've made it this far to consider hitting that like button and making a comment below, as it truly does help our channel out massively. Thank you very much for being here, and I will see you in the next one. Much love.